In a world overrun with the fake, delusional, and disingenuous, he stands as a beacon of truth. He is Abuki Cabal. You are listening to Abuki Cabal.
Welcome to the Abuki Cabal Show.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. Please take a moment to hit that like, share, and subscribe button and the notification button to help me out with the algorithm, if you would. Since that last show I did about Ecto Life, I went and tried to go dig up some more information about that, and found out a lot of things that kind of connected the dots as far as research that has led up to the Ecto Life artificial womb programs. Coming to fruition, if you will. But I'll dig into that as we go on. But I'm going to go ahead and get into what I found with this, because I think you guys will find it interesting, and what the implications of this are, along with the ethical questions, like I said the last time. But let's take a look at it. Alrighty. And here's the article about the artificial womb, and the video isn't real, but scientists say it could be. I think they're telling us that it isn't real because they probably don't want us to think it's real. But we'll take a look at it. There's a lot of, like I said, a lot of information that'll be interesting to you. Okay. All right, here we go.
Is the Ecto Life artificial womb real? Scientists say it could be. It looks like a scene from The Matrix. Rows upon rows of babies are developing in the world's first artificial womb facility, which can supposedly incubate up to 30,000 lab-grown children per year. But here's the thing, it's not actually real. The futuristic video that's being widely shared on social media is the brainchild of Hansen Al-Ghaili, a producer and filmmaker with a background in molecular biology. Advertisement. On his website, Al-Ghaili says he uses his background in science and technology to develop brand new concepts. He speaks of imagining the future, though some online have clearly mistaken his latest film as a real-life advert. In the video, for a fictional facility called Ecto Life, we hear that artificial wombs could provide a solution for cancer patients who've had their uteruses removed, that they could reduce pregnancy complications, and that the pods will help countries experiencing population decline, such as Japan, Bulgaria, South Korea. Hashim says he believes this technology is ready and that we could see such facilities in as little as 10 years. But what do scientists working in this field really think? Hashim Al-Ghaili. Advertisement. Professor Joyce Harper, head of the Reproductive Science and Society Group at UCL Institute for Women's Health, believes we might. Her book, Your Fertile Years, has a whole chapter dedicated to what the future of reproduction may look like. I have no doubt that at some point, most people will be produced by IVF. And that this, Ecto Life, would be a possibility. In science, I think you should never say never, she tells HuffPost UK. If you just think of the last 50 years and what we've achieved that you would never have thought of. I'm quite old, so I remember watching Star Trek, where they were doing video calls, and you know, I never thought I'd be video calling my kids on FaceTime. Hashim Al-Ghaili. She points out that the first 4 weeks of gestation can actually be completed in an IVF lab. Women are typically 4 weeks pregnant when an embryo is transferred. And now, premature babies can be cared for from around 21 weeks in an incubator within a neonatal unit. Advertisement. A pregnancy is normally 40 weeks and over half of it now can be done in the neonatal unit, she says. So really, it's under 20 weeks of gestation time that scientists have got to figure out how to do safely. It's not really that far away. Professor Harper highlights that lambs have been developed from earlier prematurity, but we're some way off completing this with humans. I do think that this will happen, but not in my lifetime, she says. Andrew Shannon, who is professor of obstetrics at King's College London, also says the video isn't as far-fetched as you may think. From a theoretical standpoint, it's possible, he says, of artificial wombs. It's just a matter of providing a correct environment with fuel and oxygen, and I do think the technologies are there to be able to achieve that. There are lots of examples where babies come out extremely early and are very well looked after in incubators, which is a very naive form of what you're talking about, and they're being fed by tubes down to their stomach. Advertisement. When we put people on things like heart bypasses or other organ bypasses, we are theoretically giving them what they need from a machine. Hashem al-Ga'ili. Though the artificial womb itself wouldn't pose a large challenge, the early stages of development, where the organs are forming in the first 12 weeks, would be harder to navigate, he adds. Professor Shannon also says there's all sorts of biochemical and immunological things that go on that we probably don't understand yet in relation to antibodies passed on from the mother. This would require further research. There's also ethics to consider, because this technology will only be developed if there's a need and a desire for it.
Not only that, I'm glad he talked about the ethics of that. Not only that, how are you going to perfect it without doing human testing? In order for you to bypass some of the hurdles that you're going to encounter with regard to the antibodies and developmental processes that take place within a natural womb. So there's definitely some hurdles for them to get over. But it's not very different for you to, put a lamb inside of a artificial womb and amniotic fluid and basically feed it through tubes and whatnot. As it's not that far off for you to be able to do it with a human. It's just, I'm sure, having test subjects to be able to perfect the process. So let's move on.
Advertisement. The Ecto Life concept video talks about offering an elite package where babies will be genome edited to alter their hair color, skin tone, physical strength, height, and level of intelligence. Interestingly, Professor Harper thinks future generations will be unfazed by this on an ethical level. She once took part in an Oxford Union debate on genome editing and whether it would undermine the nature of humanity. I spoke for the motion because I think it will, but I can tell you I lost spectacularly. She says young people don't have those hesitations that we have. She thinks the technology will come, but the real question worth asking is whether we'll want it. How many people will find that uncomfortable? And how many people will think that's great? She asks.
I think a lot of people are going to think it's great. I mean, if you look at how many women are saying, just on YouTube, and you look at some of the other platforms as well, where women are saying that, the last thing they want to do is have kids, because it's inconvenient for them. They have to put their lives on hold, so they can't do hot girl summer and all these other things, without having some consequences. And, as you can see now, now that Roe v. Wade has been rolled back, you're starting to see all kinds of things happening where women are getting their tubes tied. Guys are getting vasectomies. So a lot of those procedures are increasing. So having children is being looked upon as an inconvenience, not something that's necessary, or that's something that necessarily that women want on a large scale anymore. So the question of whether it will be wanted, I think, it'll be wanted. You know, if they can have it easy with no fuss, no muss, no interruption in their lives, they'll do it because look, Beyonce and all these other people have had, have talked about, surrogate, births and all of this other kind of stuff. So when they see these celebrities doing it, I mean, it's not long after that you start seeing common people starting to want the same luxuries as these people. The conversations that we're having today. I mean, I was at work the other night and a young lady was asking me, did I care about what was going on with the January 6th committee? And I said, of course. I mean, I said these are relevant things to our governmental process, and she said, well, pretty much these things happen all the time. And I wanted to ask her, well, did you take civics in school? Did you take history? Do you understand what the Constitution does? Have you ever read it? And that just goes to show you that these young people don't really hold anything sacred. They don't really care about anything. They just want to go about their lives and not really have to worry about a lot. So what we're seeing is a dumbing down of of the ability to question things like the ethics of whether we want to do things like gene editing, whether we should hold people accountable in government. These things, they don't care, but they'll start to care later on once they get older. So those are the things that we have to worry about, because these people just don't. I mean, this is why these people should not be put in places to where they can make decisions about certain things, because they do not have the maturity level to be able to adequately weigh the seriousness of the topics that are at hand. They just see any advancement in technology as something that, let's have it. Let's do it. It's just like another phone for them, or a faster computer, or whatever the case may be, or a new car. They'll just do it. And that can be a very, very dangerous situation. Let's move on.
She personally veers towards the former. She does concede that this could reduce pregnancy complications and give same-sex male couples better reproductive choices without the need for a surrogate, so it's worth considering.
Okay, now you see where the same-sex advocacy is starting to come in, where they're trying to do all of these things for, to where, to make it to where actual womanhood can be questioned. The need to have a uterus and to be able to give birth is becoming less and less important. So these are again more ethical questions that we're going to come up with that are being pushed to the forefront. That's why you hear people, these trans people say things like, well, I'm a real woman and I don't have to have a uterus or be able to give birth to be a woman. You don't even have to have, a woman's genitalia. All of these things are just being wisped away as being inconsequential. And people are making a reality out of something that used to be fantasy. For those of us who stand on facts, science, and whatnot, these people are actually making, these situations to where these positions are actually being considered. And it doesn't make any sense. But the technology is going to allow for this to be brought into the forefront even more. I could see whether we want to, bypass some of the complications and whatnot. Excuse me. But, this concern about same-sex, couples, hey, if you want to be a same-sex couple, there's some things that you just got to give up. And you should know that and say that, hey, we're going to be a same-sex couple, but we can't have children. That's just something that you signed up for when you become a same-sex couple. Or if you're, You're one of these people who are, consider yourself heterosexual, but you're dating a trans person, you're not going to be able to have kids. And that's one of the reasons why they keep that secret from people, because the guy might want to have children and not necessarily know that this person is a transsexual person who actually can't have, children because they're a post-op transsexual, So you see that these things that normally wouldn't even be brought into the process are now being brought into the process. So make of that what you will. I don't particularly care for it. I'm sure a lot of other people don't care for it, but these things where they have definitely taken an inch, well, we've given an inch, and they have taken 2 or 3 miles within the last, 5 years? So who knows where this will be in 20, 30, or 40 years. So let's move on.
Advertisement. I have no doubt that in the future, we will have an artificial human womb. But for now, there are many technical and social issues we have to overcome, she says. But Professor Shannon thinks those ethical battles were largely covered with the advent of IVF. When test tube babies first happened, there was a big debate and pushback. But the test tube baby is now widely accepted, he says. Surrogacy is also a very common phenomenon now. In a way, you're just asking the machine to be the surrogate, instead of another woman.
So with the last part of it, it says, so I think from an ethical standpoint, I don't think it's that challenging. Yes, there would have to be legislation if it went down that route. But if you think of the nuts and bolts of the concept, I think we've already crossed that bridge. Okay. So again, you've got, they're talking to females here, and they're fine with it. They're like, hey, let's just, push it on down the road. And this opens up a whole lot of other possibilities as well. This is just one piece of it. There's another one here. And it's, well, that ain't supposed to be there. Okay. All right. So they switched my article up. But anyway, there was a Daily Mail article that talked about the very same birthing concept. So we'll play that and we'll listen to a little bit of that. And we'll discuss that as well.
Creepy concept video shows human farms with hundreds of birthing pods that grow babies. A birthing facility that can grow up to 30,000 babies a year inside artificial wombs could solve the world's low birth rates, which Elon Musk believes is the most significant threat to human civilization. A new concept video takes viewers on tour through the Ecto Life artificial womb facility, where hundreds of fetuses sit in transparent pods that are temperature controlled and feature an umbilical cord to receive oxygen and nutrients. Hashim Al-Ghaili, a film producer and biotechnologist, created the lifelike film to start a conversation about such technologies that would allow women who had their uterus removed to give birth, reduce premature births and combat population declines. The process would use in vitro fertilization, allowing parents to choose the most viable and genetically superior embryo, which can also be genetically engineered to customize traits, including physical strength and eliminating inherited diseases. While the video is a concept, Al-Ghaili said it is based on 50 years of groundbreaking scientific research conducted by researchers worldwide, and such birthing pods could be widespread in just decades from now. 7view Gallery. The concept video aims to start a conversation about the future of giving birth. The creator foresees the change from real wombs to artificial ones that are housed in a research lab. The video plays like a commercial for Ecto Life, which allows infertile couples to conceive a baby. The facility features 75 labs, each with up to 400 growth pods designed to replicate the real-life conditions of the mother's womb and include sensors that monitor the baby's vitals. This includes heartbeat, temperate and oxygen saturation. The pods are also equipped with a camera powered by artificial intelligence that continually scans the fetus for potential genetic abnormalities and monitors the overall growth process. Parents are given an app that plays live footage of their baby inside the pod, along with displays vitals. The video also states that parents can record messages that will be played inside the artificial womb and create music playlists for their babies. While the video is focused on improving birth rates, it also notes that the birthing farm is for women who fear pregnancy because of the pain and recovery needed after going into labor. Say goodbye to the pain of childbirth and muscle contractions, the video narrator says. Ecto Life provides a safe, pain-free alternative that helps you deliver your baby without stress. The delivery process requires parents to push a button on the pod. The amniotic fluid is drained from inside and the artificial womb opens, allowing parents to hold their baby for the first time. The video, which looks like a scene from the 1999 film The Matrix, is just a concept for now, but it could be used in the future as the world is facing a population decline. Musk said civilization is going to crumble if declining birth rates continue during the Wall Street Journal event in December 2021. While the comment was made when the global population sat at 7.9 billion, it recently hit 8 billion, the tech mogul warned the world is in dire need of humans. 7 View Gallery. The concept facility, called Ecto Life, would grow up to 30,000 babies a year inside its birthing pods. 7 View Gallery. The facility features 75 labs, each with up to 400 growth pods. 7 View Gallery. The pods would be organized in rows, allowing researchers to monitor each one as the baby grows. Birth rates in developed nations have been plummeting for years, which has dragged down the overall rate. The average woman had 2.5 children by 2020, compared to 550 years ago. Rates are even lower in the UK, 1.74, and the US, 1.77. Higher education and contraception and more women entering the workplace are thought to be behind the concerning trends. The birthing pods would be an alternative for couples with infertility and those on the fence about carrying a baby themselves. And the new video might seem like a breakthrough. Artificial wombs have been the talk of the scientific community since 1923, when it was first introduced at a lecture by an English biologist. Then in 1955, scientists unveiled a tank that would grow a fetus. This design featured amniotic fluid, a machine connecting to the umbilical cord, blood pumps, an artificial kidney and a water heater. 7 View Gallery. Parents are given an app that plays live footage of their baby inside the pod and displays vitals. However, technology is advancing and scientists are thinking of more options that expand out of a pod or tank. In 2020...
Okay, I'm going to stop it there for a second. So, in that article, it basically showed a pod and its its systems basically sitting by at a home beside the bed, where the husband and wife or the young lady basically monitors the functions of the pod, and like it says, you can have an app, you can play music for it, you can monitor the pod remotely, all of that. So these things, it kind of says, it begs a question, what kind of society basically becomes so busy that it can't take time out to have children, to perpetuate its own species. What kind of, what does that say about us? I mean, it makes me think back to, basically cell phones were supposed to allow us to be able to move around better and, not be tethered to the house. We had, computers that were supposed to allow us to basically easily work. But what did they do? They just made us be able to do more and more work. And we're not getting any more rest. We're not spending any more time at home. We're spending more time on the computers, at work, doing more work, becoming even more productive to the point to where we don't have time to do anything else. So there is no balance anymore between work and family, technology, and humanity. So these things beg us to ask questions of ourselves. But let's move on.
Researchers succeeded in creating a viable artificial womb in rabbits. Anthony Atala of the Wake Forest Institute for Regenerative Medicine and colleagues made uterus tissue cultivated from rabbits' uterine cells, which they seeded onto a biodegradable scaffold. Pioneered by the team, this broad approach has previously been used in humans to restore function to tubular organs like the urethra and specific hollow organs, including the bladder and vagina. Implanting the bioengineered scaffolds into 14 rabbits, the researchers demonstrated that the artificial wombs could create the native, tissue-like structures needed to support normal reproduction. 6 months after the female rabbits were implanted with the scaffolds, the animals were allowed to mate naturally with fertile males. The rabbits with cell-seeded constructs had normal pregnancies in the reconstructed segments of the uteri, said paper author Renata Magayas of the Wake Forest Institute for Regenerative Medicine. This research introduces new avenues for potentially creating tissue substitutes derived from a patient's cells to treat uterine defects. 7-View Gallery. The pods are also equipped with a camera powered by artificial intelligence that continually scans the fetus for potential genetic abnormalities and monitors the overall growth process. 7-View Gallery. The delivery process requires parents to push a button on the pod, which opens the glass structure and lets parents take their baby home. Designer babies are also not a thing of science fiction, as experts have been working tirelessly to perfect the procedure. Chinese scientists admitted to changing the genes of human embryos for the first time in 2015, when they tweaked the gene responsible for beta thalassemia, a potentially deadly blood disorder, using a germline editing technique known as CRISPR/Cas9. CRISPR technology precisely changes target parts of genetic code. But the researchers said the results revealed serious obstacles in using the technique on human embryos. The announcement confirmed rumors that some researchers had conducted ethically questionable genetic experiments. Some scientists reacted with horror at the idea, for fear it could be misused to allow parents to select the genes they will pass on to their grandchildren. If you enjoyed this article, will babies soon be born from bags? Scientists raise premature lambs in incredible plastic womb. And U.S. birth rate dropped by 4% to record low in 2020, the steepest decline since 1979, CDC data reveals. Also, genetically engineered designer baby revolution could be less than 2 years away as expert says it is ethically justifiable.
Now, this is the bio bag that and the diagram of how it worked when they were doing the experiments as to whether they could actually grow a lamb inside of a synthetic apparatus. And as you can see here, there's air, oxygen, nitrogen, gas blend that is pumped through a system, and it works almost like a heart, where you start to see arterial flow and venous flow here, going to an umbilicus, and basically taking nutrients into the fetus of the lamb. Okay, so they designed some amniotic fluid and some filters and a pump that basically filters out waste, and it works just like it does inside the body. So as you can see, they exchange the sac from the membrane to a plastic sac that's basically sealed and snug, vacuum sealed, to keep any pathogens out. And as you can see, all of the figures here, this was from 2017. And this is from Nature, a communications paper describing the extrauterine life support system or biobag used to grow lambs. Okay, so I got this Wikipedia article here in order to take you down through the process, where here we have the patent, which was done November 5th, 1955. So that goes to show you that this process has been thought about for a long time. So let's move on here, and it talks about the artificial womb or artificial uterus, and basically how they first came up with the first concepts. Okay. It talks about what I talked about earlier. They use like a dialysis system to basically take out waste and to exchange nutrients and waste in the system. Talks about the gas exchange here, artificial nutrition techniques. So all of these things, they covered every aspect of it. They talk about the uterine wall and the things that they had to take into consideration for this process. Okay. Amniotic tank, or artificial amniotic sac, an umbilical cord. They had to create a synthetic one to replace the biological one. And here it goes down, and it talks about each stage of the process as it has gone, as it has progressed from 1954 to the 60s to 1996. Japan did some research. Most of the research, the preliminary research, was in the United States. Here you have some more research being done in 2017 for the closed sterile fluid environment, pumpless arteriovenous circuit, and umbilical cord vessel cannulation. Okay, so different parts of this, as the technology has improved throughout the years, has been implemented into the places where they needed them in order to get to a point to where they have a complete system. So here we have 2016, where some researchers and partners were declaring their aim to develop an artificial womb, which is an adequate substitute for the protective environment of the maternal womb in case of premature birth, preventing health complications. Okay, the artificial womb and the placenta will provide a natural environment for the baby, with the goal to ease the transition to newborn life. Okay, so there's a lot of good information in this. I'm not going to cover it all, but here's the Israeli research that was done in 2021. Weizmann Institute of Science in Israel built a mechanical uterus and grew mouse embryos outside the uterus for several days. This device was also used in 2022 to nurture mouse stem cells for over a week and grow synthetic embryos from stem cells. Okay, I've got that article too, and I may cover that, but here's the entire system, and this is the paper that was released in order to explain the process and in order for it to be duplicated by their peers. So you have that portion. Okay, let me do no, that's the whole one. Okay, so then we get down to the bioethics and the philosophical considerations. And this is a part that I was concerned about, where they talk about the development of artificial uteri, and ectogenesis raises bioethical and legal considerations, and also has important implications for reproductive rights and the abortion debate. Artificial uteri may expand the range of fetal viability, raising questions about the role that fetal viability plays within the abortion law. Within severance theory, for example, the abortion rights only include the right to remove the fetus and do not always extend to the termination of the fetus. if transferring the fetus from a woman's womb to an artificial uterus is possible, the choice to terminate a pregnancy in this way could provide an alternative to aborting the fetus. There are also theoretical concerns that children who develop in an artificial uterus may lack some essential bond with their mothers that other children have. Okay. Here you have the gender equality debate, and this concerns the LGBT community. So in a 1970 book, The Dialect of Sex, feminist Shulamith Firestone wrote that differences in biological reproductive roles are a source of gender inequality. Firestone singled out pregnancy and childbirth, making the argument that an artificial womb would free women from the tyranny of their reproductive biology. Wow. So, these women are angry with their biological processes, which enable them to have children, because they have been taught that it is a hindrance rather than an asset, which is crazy. But as you can see, this all started in 1970, right when feminists started to take over the higher education systems in order to push this type of rhetoric. Okay, so Arathi Prasad argues in her column in The Guardian, in her article, How Artificial Wombs Will Change Our Idea of Gender, Family, and Equality, that it will give men an essential tool to have a child entirely without a woman, should they choose. It will ask us to question concepts of gender and parenthood. She furthermore argues for the benefits of same-sex couples. It might also mean that the divide between mother and father can be dispensed with. A womb outside of a woman's body would serve women, trans women, and male same-sex couples equally without prejudice. So, respecting biological limitations is now seen as prejudice. This is crazy, and it just seems like we're just moving farther and farther away from sanity with regard to dealing with biological facts and parameters. But this is really good. It shows all of the research of how we progressed from the 50s up to this point. It's very informative, and it goes also. It tells you a few more other terms to basically look into, or process to look into: amniotic fluid, apheresis, Brave New World, ectogenesis, embryo space colonization, ectocorporeal membrane oxygenation, hemodialysis, in vitro fertilization, male pregnancy, post-genderism, and tissue engineering. All of these things are also will contribute to the argument that the artificial womb presents with regard to us considering the ethics of even creating such a thing. So, with that being said, that's a lot of information, and I think it goes in a little bit deeper than I did the first time, and I think it's necessary for us to go ahead and look at it deeper than I did the first time, because this is pretty, like I said, this is pretty important. And I think people are saying, well, no, it's not, this won't happen, it's fake and all this. But look, the patent's been there since the 50s, so you have to ask your question. They wouldn't write a patent for something that they didn't think was feasible and that they didn't have planned at some point in the future. sometimes they take out patents waiting for the technology to catch up with the idea. So that being said, you guys let me know what you thought about the information. I'll put the links in the description, and we can chop it up in the comments and discuss this very important topic. I appreciate you guys checking me out and following the channel and supporting the channel. I think I will probably go into the synthetic embryos probably next. If you guys would like to see that, let me know, and I will proceed accordingly. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I appreciate you, and I'll check you out next time.
I feel like a